Alright guys, welcome back. Um, alright, we're gonna be talking about OGCPA Lambdas for Dummies. This is this we're gonna go over the basics required to know for the certification. We're gonna go more in detail about Lambdas in the functional interface module. Again, we're gonna talk more about Lambdas in the functional interface model. Alright, let's start guys. What are Lambdas? In a simple term, lambdas are just expressions of code that gets passed around. A lambda is like an anonymous function, a shorter version of an anonymous function. That's it. Lambdas are a shorter version of an anonymous function or class with more features. Lambdas are evaluated at runtime as anonymous classes are evaluated at compile time. Why would you want to use a lambda? A lambda improves code quality, can be used for code validation, and reusability. A lambda would be used in a business setting. Maybe if you're too lazy to do JUnit testing, lambdas would be used for code testing, for testing your modules. It could be used for that. And it could also be used when you're using a thread in the thread interface to write some small little thread code. Maybe that's like 3 statements long. Alright, so on your right side is a lambda, on your left side is an anonymous function. As you see, the lambda just has an interface, and the anonymous class has an interface too. But looking at the code, the lambda is only using 2 lines of code as the anonymous function uses 4. For in the end, both get the same result. In this code, we're testing if the word Linux is found, or if it matches with the word Linux. So you can see from looking at this code that lambdas are very code friendly and very efficient to use. Alright, how lambdas work. A lambda expression is a short form, a replacement for an anonymous class. Lambdas simplify the uses of interface that declare single abstract methods. Such interfaces are known as functional interfaces. So the main difference is that an anonymous class implements an abstract class, an interface in a superclass, as a lambda just implements interfaces. The rules for the so what are the functional interfaces? Functional interface is a annotation useful for compilation time checking of your code. So it's a function. It's basically just an interface that can only have one method, one abstract method. Again, a functional interface can only have one abstract method. You can have a static and default methods. You can have static and default methods, but you can only have one abstract method. As you know, in Java 8, in interface, you can define static and default you can implement static and default methods in an interface. So what are the built-in functional interfaces in Java 8? These are all part of the java.utility.function package, which is in Java 8. These are built in. Oracle built these in for you. So the functional interface right here is so supplier T. It's basically a getter, and it returns a very generic type, whatever you put in there. Consumer is a void, and it accepts whatever any generic type you put inside consumer. And predicate is Boolean, and it accepts whatever generic type you put inside predicate, and it returns a Boolean. We use that in our first example. And function, I mean, is the T is the generic type, and R is the return type. It returns whatever you want it to be. So yeah, and these single abstract methods are already built in. Get, accept, and test and apply are already built-in abstract methods. So you can just implement these in with one line inside your main method. Very easy to use. We're going to go in more detail about these functional interfaces in the functional interface tutorial, or the functional programming module. Alright, so what are the Lambda's elements? There is a parentheses, there's a bracket, and there's an operator. The parentheses and the brackets are optional, but the operator is mandatory. It's mandatory to have an operator. I should write that down. Again, it is mandatory for you to have an operator in your Lambdas. That's going to be asked on the exam anyways. It's mandatory for you to have an operator in your Lambda expression. Alright, let's go into parentheses. Lambda rules. So parentheses is required for Lambdas with more than one parameter or with no parameters. The first one, you don't need a parentheses, and you can write it in one statement. The second one, there is no parentheses accepted, so there is no parameter inside that is needed, so you just write an empty parentheses, the operator, and systems.out print line hello world. That's simple. But again, if you have more than two parameters, you need a parentheses. Or if you are declaring a data type. If you're declaring a data type, once again, you need a parentheses. More Lambda rules. Can't use an existing variable in the code as a parameter variable. Meaning, if you at the top, if you have int x used for evaluation on the top, or any of your local variables, your instantiated variables or your member variables cannot be used inside the parentheses of a Lambda. Once again, you cannot use any code, static, member, local variables inside the parentheses or any declared variables inside a parenthesis as a parameter. When using braces in the body, you must use a return statement. Even if it's void. When using a braces in the body, you must use a return statement, even though it's void. Data type. Data type can be used to declare parameters inside the parentheses. Data type can be used to declare a parameter inside a parenthesis. But if one parameter has a data type, then they should all have data types. Once again, But if one parameter has a data type, then they should all have data types. Lambda operator is mandatory. Method signature, method implementation. The parentheses is called the method signature. And one more thing is, if you're going to execute more than one line of code or one statement, you need braces. If you're going to execute more than one statement, you need braces. If you're going to execute more than one statement, you need braces. Non-valid lambdas. These lambdas will not compile. So what's the problem with the first one? A, Z doesn't have a data type. Again, what's the problem with the first one? Z doesn't have a data type. What's the problem with the second one? Z doesn't have a data type. What's the problem with the third one? There's no parentheses. What's the problem with the third one? There's no parenthesis. And what's the problem with the last one? A is not declared in the parentheses. What's the problem with the last one? A is not declared in the parentheses. Cons of lambdas. It causes more CPU resources, uses more memory than anonymous classes because it's evaluated at runtime. And harder to debug because the error is not catched at compile time. So, if you're relying on optimization, use a member class. If you're relying on optimization, use a member class. And have a great day, everyone. This is Java Monkey or Java King, and cheers.